بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الكريم وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله ثم أما بعد. We want to try to ask the people. I know that they're happy to see one another. People are still setting up for the food. Excuse me, sisters, 1 minute, inshallah, if the sisters can listen. Please. The brothers as well, if everybody can listen for just 1 moment, please. We know that everyone is happy to see one another, alhamdulillah. This is a joyous occasion, and that people are still setting up for the feeding of the people. But we want to ask the people, excuse me, sisters, could we listen for 1 minute, please?
No cooking.
We understand that people are happy to see one another, and some talking must take place, and that we're still setting up for the food portion of the program. But we would like to remind the people to respect the people that want to benefit, as the food for the soul is important, just as important as the food for the body, and that the sisters, while they work, try to gain some benefit, inshallah, ta'ala, as we start the program. Also, we don't want children to be unsupervised outside or in the bathroom, inshallah. So let's try to work together and keep an eye on the children as a community. Jazakumullah khair. Today, inshallah, ta'ala, we want to continue, as we didn't have the lesson from 4 to 6. We thought that we would be patient and wait, as nobody came. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Maybe this is my bad judgment. I think this is a better timing after Salat. We started talking about Kitab al-Jumu'ah last night after Maghrib, the book of Jumu'ah. And I thought this would be beneficial for the people, because everyone mostly comes for Jumu'ah. And there are a lot of different benefits, different rulings around the issue of Jumu'ah, and every Muslim could appreciate these hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So rather than starting from the book how revelation began, or starting from the second book, Kitab al-Ilm, talking about what is knowledge and so forth, we're actually starting from the 11th book, and the Sahih al-Bukhari, Kitab al-Jumu'ah, the book of Jumu'ah. And all of the hadith are related to Jumu'ah. We're taking the explanation of Imam Hajar ibn Asqalani, which is Baree. It's on the shelf. If anybody wants to read to go along, they're welcome. If not, no problem. This is the same book that I have in front of me. And we'll just review some of the points that we mentioned last night, and then we'll take the first hadith, as that was the introduction that we took last night from Imam Hajar ibn Asqalani. The first benefit that we took last night is the various ways that a person can pronounce the word al-Jumu'ah. Some people in English, they say Juma. Juma. And a lot of times we hear the word Jumu'ah. But here the Sheikh gives 4 different ways, and all of them are correct. If a person was to say with a dhamma over the jim, which gives you the J sound for those who don't know Arabic, Jumu'ah, then this is correct. If a person was to put on the second letter, which is the meme, a sukoon, make it Jum'ah, this is correct. If a person was to put fatha on the first letter, which again is jim, in English it sounds like J, Jam'ah, this is correct. And if a person was to put a kasra on the first letter, which is the jim, and again we said it sounds like the J in English, Jim'ah, then all of them mean the same thing and they're correct. So if you hear somebody say, are you going to Jumu'ah? Don't say it's a mistake or this is incorrect, because you can say Jumu'ah or you can say Jum'ah. If a person says Jam'ah, or you're going to Jam'ah, don't say no brother, it's incorrect, because you can say with the Fatha Jam'ah. And if a person says with the Kasra, like the Isa, Jim'ah, or you're going to Salatul Jim'ah, then don't say brother, this is wrong. All four of them are correct. And this was from some of the benefits of Imam Hajar ibn Asqalani concerning the term Al-Jumu'ah. Also, one of the benefits, when we talk about Kitab al-Jumu'ah, the book of Jumu'ah, they said what is understood here, وَالْمَرَادُ بَيَانْ أَحْكَامُ Salatul Jumu'ati. They said what is meant here from the book of Jumu'ah is to present and to clarify the rulings concerning Salatul Jumu'ah. So whenever you hear Kitab al-Jumu'ah, some of them say it means Kitab Ahkam Salatul Jumu'ah. It's going to tell you how to perform the Salat and the different things around the Salat of Jumu'ah. Another benefit that we took, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, is the discussion, as they mentioned, al-ikhtilaf. Some people have different approaches and they have different statements as to the origin of the word Jumu'ah. Was it used in the days of Jahiliyyah? Jahiliyyah meaning before Islam, or was it something that began to be used after the event of the Prophet, meaning after Islam began? Some of them say that it goes back to the days of Jahiliyyah, as they used to gather the Arab to go out on what's called al-aruba, meaning the caravan, on that day which we call a Jumu'ah. And that is the day between, as they say, Khamis wal Sabt. Khamis wal Sabt. In between those 2 days, which Khamis we say normally is Thursday, if we look for equivalents in English, if we match up the days, was Sabt and Yawm al-Sabt, which nahnu fi Yawm al-Sabt al-an, as we are on Yawm al-Sabt now in America, then we say that's Saturday. So Jumu'ah, they said, Bain al-Khamis was Sabt, is between Thursday and Saturday. That middle day in between the two is known to be a Jumu'ah. So some of them had the argument that no, we used to say the word Jumu'ah back in the time before Islam. And some of them say no, this word appeared to be used by the Arabs after the coming of the Prophet ﷺ, meaning after Islam, or during the beginning of Islam until Yawm al-Qiyamah. One of the proofs that they use, that the Arabs used to use this word before Islam, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had mentioned the creation of Adam, and the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala khalaqa Adam fihi, ay fi Jum'ah, that he created Adam on this day. وَطَرَحَ مَاذَا آدَمْ مِنْ جَنَّةٍ فِيهِ, and Adam was kicked from that Jannah on Jumu'ah. وَنُفِخَ الصُّورِ فِيهِ أي Jumu'ah, and that the trumpet will be blown on that day. وَهُوَ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ, and that Yawm al-Qiyamah will be on the day of Jumu'ah. We mentioned that there's different narrations. Some of them only go back to the Sahaba, meaning if Imam Bukhari took it from one person who was his sheikh, and then that sheikh took it from another person, and that sheikh took it from another person, all of these were students and shuyukh of one another. Each person that it comes from, it moves back towards the first 3 generations. The tabi'een, yani ma'da, have students. So we say they're students, and then the tabi'een, those who learn from the Sahaba, and then the Sahaba. After those 3 generations, it has to come from the Prophet's mouth. So Imam Bukhari is mentioning this hadith, Imam Ibn Hajar, pardon me, in this explanation in Bukhari, he's mentioned that some narrations stop at the Sahaba. Meaning it doesn't go back to the Prophet. The Sahaba said it without the Prophet. Then you have some narrations that can be linked back to the Prophet. And you have some that are acceptable and some that are not acceptable. We gave some examples of what's not acceptable as it relates to the narrators. If a person like Imam Bukhari, he listened to one of his sheikh make a statement about a hadith. And then that sheikh took from his sheikh a statement about a hadith. And then that person listened to his sheikh make a statement about a hadith. Then you come to the itba'a tabi'een, those who took from the tabi'een. And then you have the tabi'een. And then you have the sahaba. Then you have the prophet. That will be what's considered. If all of the men who narrated were Muslim, they were mada aqilun, they were not majnoon, and they were adilun, meaning known to be righteous, just in their narration. Salima min al-fisq, it was not known to be a person that people can say he outwardly disobeyed Allah. Then that narration, if those people heard it from who they said they heard it from, it's considered to be sahih. It's considered to be marfu'an, meaning it goes back to the Prophet and is verified. Then if you have another narration, it comes from Imam Bukhari, then it comes from his teacher who told him, and then his teacher heard it from his teacher, and his teacher heard it from his teacher. Then in the middle it said, وَقَالَ رَجُلًا أَوْ سَمِعَ رَجُلًا, that a man said. And then next after that man said, it's an itba'a tabi, meaning the student of the tabi'een. Then the next one after is the tabi'een, then the sahaba, then the prophet. That hadith will not be able to identify as a authentic source because they have someone in the chain, he's not named. You can't say a person or a man. This is what's called in the science of hadith mubaham, meaning it's anonymous. The person has to be known. So that hadith will have to be disregarded, and it's known as a hadith that is da'if. Then you have the type of hadith where everybody, it is proven that they heard from one another. Such as Imam Bukhari heard from his sheikh, and then he heard from another sheikh, and he heard from another sheikh, and then those shuyukh heard from their sheikh, and then their sheikh heard from the tabi'een. And then the tabi'een, the student of the tabi'een, pardon me. Then the student of the tabi'een, they would call itba' tabi'een, heard from the tabi'een, which is the second generation. And then this person, he met a sahaba. But it's not confirmed that he took knowledge from the sahaba. Like I shake Yusuf's hand, salaam alaikum, and then I leave. But then you shake Yusuf's hand and then you sit with him for a half hour. And you talk about things, and you heard from Yusuf that he said, Allah is one. And then other people can verify, yes, Yusuf said it, we were there. He said Allah is one. Then me meeting Yusuf, shaking his hand, is verified that I met him. But it's not verified that I heard anything from him. Rather, the one who met him and heard from him, then that narration will be accepted to the other narrator. So the fact that a person met a sahaba is not enough. It has to be proven that that person heard from that sahaba. Like Muhammad ibn Sirin, one of the ulama from the itba' tabi'een. He's from the ulama of the third generation. And he had a son named Anas ibn Sirin. Muhammad ibn Sirin, he'd heard from Sahaba. But he narrates on Anas ibn Malik. He narrates on Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha. But it's not confirmed that he heard a narration from Aisha. So even though he narrates on Aisha, he met Aisha, the hadith that he narrates on Aisha is considered da'if, not accepted, because it's not recorded that he heard from Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha. So this is just a glimpse of how some of the narrations could be accepted and not accepted. And when we talk about the hadith where Adam was created on Jumu'ah, then some of the narrations fall into all of these categories, but we do have what's authentically reported on the Prophet ﷺ, that Adam was created on the day of Jumu'ah. Thus, some of the Arabs say this word was used before Islam, as it's in the hadith identifying that Adam was created on Jumu'ah, which means the Arabs possibly knew about this term and they used it before Islam. And there are many more benefits in the introduction of the explanation of Sahih al-Bukhari, known as Fath al-Baree, by Imam Hafiz Ibn Asqalani, Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, rahimahullah. One of the notes that we want to make before we take the first hadith in the first chapter, as Kitab al-Jumu'ah is general. You have a book, and in this book you deal with different subjects. One of them is Jumu'ah. So the subject of Jumu'ah is meant as Kitab al-Jumu'ah, meaning everything under this umbrella is going to be dealt with concerning Jumu'ah. And under that umbrella, then you have subtitles. Those subtitles are called Bab, the chapter of this. Bab, the chapter of that. So we're going to take the first hadith under Kitab al-Jumu'ah. But let it be an extra benefit, Jazakumullah khairan, whenever you hear a person say Hafiz, and he doesn't mention Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, most of the ulama of the past, they say this means he's talking about Hajar ibn Asqalani, the author of Fath al-Baree. He's also the author of the well-known book Bulugh al-Maram, which is a good book of hadith, a book of fiqh, and it takes some sitting with people of knowledge, people who are versed in the science of hadith, because a lot of the hadith in there have discussion. Some of them are authentic, some of them are not. It's not like taken from a book that has most of the hadith that are Bukhari and Muslim. So that book should be used, but used alongside of a person who is considered to be muhaddith, alim and hadith, or a student that has studied with the alim hadith. Whenever you hear a person say Hafiz, all of the ulama, they say this means hands down Hafiz ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. But if they say Hajar ibn Asqalani, meaning Hafiz, then that's clear. But if they just say Hafiz, there's Hafiz ibn Kathir, there's Hafiz Imam al-Dhahabi, there's Hafiz ibn Mundhiri. There's a lot of people who take the term and the technical nickname Hafiz. But if a person says, Qala Hafiz, rahimahullah, Hafiz, he said in his book, the ulama say this is talking about Hafiz ibn Asqalani, Hajar ibn Asqalani. Just as if a person says Shaykh al-Islam, there's many Shaykh al-Islam. If you say Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, there's no, you're talking about Ibn Taymiyyah. There's a Shaykh al-Islam Imam al-Dhahabi, Shamsuddin al-Dhahabi. There's no, this is Imam al-Dhahabi. It's a Shaykh al-Islam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. This is no, you're talking about Muhammad Abdul Wahhab. It's a Shaykh al-Islam Imam ibn Qudama. This is clear. But when we say Shaykh al-Islam Imam Abu Zakaria Imam al-Nawawi, this is clear. But if you just say Shaykh al-Islam, call it Shaykh al-Islam by itself, this means Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala. And these are some side benefits when we mention the issue of Hafiz, as we're talking about Hafiz Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. Any questions before we continue? So far what we talked about. We can take 2 minutes, 5 minutes. So we're going to move to the hadith, and other questions might jump up. Any questions? No? طيب. قال الإمام بخاري رحمه الله تعالى باب فرض الجمعة. Imam Bukhari, he brings the first hadith in this chapter. It's called the chapter of the obligation of Jumu'ah. لقول الله تعالى, with the statement of Allah the Most High, إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع. The statement of Allah in Surah Al-Jumu'ah, and when the call is made for the salat, as it relates to the day of Jumu'ah, fas'aw, hasten, rush, ila dhikrillah, towards the remembrance of Allah, wadharu bay, wadharu bay, and to abandon, leave off trade. And Imam Bukhari, he mentions the verse to show that Allah Himself has mentioned the obligation of Jumu'ah. And then the rest of the verse, ذَلِكُمْ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. And we should understand, yes, Quran has been sent down for hasanat. As the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned in the Sunan, and it's authentic, Man qara'a harafan min kitabillahi falahu ajran. Wa fi riwayatin falahu hasanan. The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever reads a letter from the book of Allah, for him is a reward. And another narration, for him is a good deed. And the Prophet ﷺ said, wal hasana ashara amthaliha. And that good deed you get for reading one letter of Quran, it can be multiplied 10 times or more. Ma kul alif lam mim harfun. He said, and I do not mean alif lam mim like in the beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah. Alif lam mim like in Surah Al-Sajdah. Alif lam mim, I do not mean all three of them are considered the harf. That if you say alif lam mim, all three of them, you get one reward, or 10. He said, walakin harf alifun harfun, walamun harfun, wamimun harfun. He said, but rather each one of them is considered a harf, a letter, and you get a reward. So this is a proof that you get reward for reading the Quran. And this is authentically reported on the Prophet. We have to say authentic if the hadith is authentic. If the hadith is not recorded to be sound on the Prophet, we have to say it's not sound. This is important. As the Prophet ﷺ, everyone believes that he's Sadiq al-Masduq. There's no doubt about that. Naam? Naam, Fathul.
For me?
You have something you want to say?
I'm sorry, I don't have a question now.
Okay, tell you.
Thank you.
Everybody agrees the Prophet is trustworthy and he's truthful.
Yes.
He's not a liar. He's not a con man. Walayadhu billah. And this includes those groups that say, unfortunately, that the Prophet ﷺ khan risala. And so the Prophet betrayed his trust. He didn't deliver the message. And this includes the Shia. Wallahi. Because they make this claim that Ali, he should have been the Khalifa after the Prophet. And I know we're talking about the issue of the Prophet ﷺ being truthful and trustworthy. And the reason I mention this, because this goes hand in hand with whether or not what the Prophet said is acceptable, verified, or whether it's not accepted or not verified. There's a hadith that shows why this is important. But at the same time, some Muslims, and we should understand this, don't deem this all the way across the board. And one of them is the Shia, unfortunately. Because they say that Ali, he should have been the successor after the Prophet. And when the Prophet ﷺ said, Anta bid'un minni. Bid'un minni means you are a portion of me. And he said, Anta li kama Harun li Musa. Or kama qal. You are to me as Harun was to Musa. But what does that mean? That means that you are in my bloodline. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said to him on the day of Khaybar, Ain Ali ibn Abi Talib. Where's Ali? When he wanted to give the flag. And they say, Yashtaka aynih. He has a problem in his eye, an infection and pain. So he said, go get him. Bring him here. They went and got Ali, and Ali came forth. And the Prophet ﷺ, basakha fi aynihi. He spit in his eye. Nobody tried to spit in another person's eye. We're not the Prophet. But the Prophet ﷺ, again, everything about him is blessed. His spit, the water from his wudu, his blood, even his urine, it was not like the people's urine. And this is not extremism, but he was the Prophet. He was the Prophet ﷺ. So, Allah gave him something that he didn't give the other prophets. What about the common folk? Of course. So the Prophet ﷺ, he spit like this in Ali's eye. Just as when we make at nighttime when you go to bed, it's legislated that you raise both of your hands and you lightly, like something is in your mouth, some hair, and you want to get it out. That type of spit. And you blow and you read Qul huwallahu ahad, Qul a'udhu birabbil falaq wan nas, and then you wipe your whole body. Some of them say underneath the clothing, touch the skin, wipe as much as you can. And the explanation of that. Then you repeat it again. A light spittle, like a piece of hair or something in your mouth. Not where you, like somebody's sick. No, not that type. And you read Qul huwallahu ahad, Qul rabbil falaq wan nas. You wipe the body as much as you can. And again, some of them say the wiping should be underneath the clothing, not on top. Just as this type of spittle is practical and it's legislated, Such was the spitting in the eye of Ali. As Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala said, the Prophet sallam, La yantiqa anil hawa. He doesn't speak from his desire. Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala said, Innaka ala khuliqin azim. You have the most supreme of character. And when Aisha was asked about the Prophet, said, Khuluquhu Qur'ana. His mannerisms was the Quran. Why? Because he didn't do anything except Allah sent something down pertaining to his statements and actions. So he spit in Ali's eye lightly. Basakha fi aynihi. As the hadith goes in Bukhari. And it said, Imam Bukhari said after the narrator of the hadith, said after the Prophet ﷺ did this action to Ali, the pain left كَأَنَّ lam yakun wajh, as if he had no pain, had no alam, no pain. It was healed instantly. So then the Prophet ﷺ, he asked, he said, who would like to take this flag of the Raya? Of course everybody was competing, me, I want it like this. And the Prophet ﷺ said, perhaps Allah will raise somebody tomorrow with this flag. Then he gave the flag to Ali, and he told him to go to the people of Khaybar and to command them to worship Allah and to inform them of what Allah awjab Allah alayhim, what Allah has made an obligation upon them in Islam. And then he said to Ali, Lo yahdika Allah ala yadayk rajulun wahid khayran laka min humrun na'am. He said, if Allah guides on your hand one man, one individual, to accept what I told you to go convey to them and preach to them, it's better for you than the whole best flock of camels. Somebody give me 3 name brand top line of cars we have in America.
Mercedes.
Somebody said Mercedes.
Lexus.
Lexus? That's top of the line?
I guess.
Mercedes, yes. Lexus, question mark. Come on. You guys know about this stuff more than me. Somebody said Rolls Royce. Jazakumullah khairan. Mercedes Benz, Rolls Royce. A thalith.
Porsche.
Porsche. Somebody said Porsche. Yani Mercedes Benz, Rolls Royce, and Porsche. Can you imagine if you had just one of those? How about you have one of each one of them? How about you have all 3 of them? This was the high ranking, hybrid camel that the Prophet ﷺ told Ali, if you guide one man, or rather if Allah guides one man on your hands to what is true, Islam is better for you than that. This was the meaning. So we know Ali had virtue. He was the one who came to Islam. He was 10 years old. From the first of the people to accept, Ali was from amongst them. And the Prophet ﷺ said, Yani, you are to me as Harun, Yani Mada was to Musa. But there's no doubt, Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala mentioned Ashab al-Ghar, the people who were in the cave. When Abi Talib, he died, and the Quraysh decided to take the Prophet's life. Let us not forget this. They decided to take the life of the Prophet. It wasn't over Jahiliyyah, like we have today. Somebody wants to kill you because you cheated with his wife. Wala'iyadu billah. It wasn't because of money. If I kill him, then I can take all the money for myself. Astaghfirullah. It wasn't because the Prophet ﷺ had murdered a bunch of people and they wanted to retaliate. Rather, they wanted to kill the Prophet ﷺ. يُرِيدُونَ أَن يُطْفِئُوا نُورَ اللَّهِ بِأَفْوَاهِهِمْ. They wanted to put out the religion of Islam. That was it. When they went to get the Prophet, this one that the Prophet is talking about, Ali, was laying in the bed as a decoy. The Prophet was gone. They pulled the cover back, and 10 of them, from the best marksmen of the Quraysh, they were all going to stick the Prophet at one time. 10 people butchered the Prophet to make sure that he's dead. They pulled the cover back, it was Ali, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Meanwhile, the Prophet was up in the mountains. Wallahi, this is why, since I've been here, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us better than what people think of us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it a reality. Ameen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward us and make us from the people of truth in this life and hereafter. Ameen. This is why I talk about this place the way I do in the people. Just the fact that you all live in the mountains and you're Muslim. This is a great ni'mah because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praised the people in the mountains and talked about the utilization of the mountains all through Islam. Like in this incident, they were going around the mountain to get away from the people who wanted to kill the Prophet. And when they seen that the Prophet was gone, they followed the footsteps, they hurry up and they dipped into a cave. Can somebody tell me where a cave is normally situated? Where would you normally find the cave? Will you find it in a big city?
No.
Will you find the cave inside of a barn with animals? Where would you find the cave? Normally in the higher elevations, the lower elevations. Where will caves normally be? Huh?
Higher elevation.
Higher elevations. Where at higher elevations?
In the mountain.
In the mountains. Barakallahu fikum. Now, so look at the ni'mah of the mountains. Prophet ﷺ and them, they dipped into the cave and they came looking for him, following the footsteps. The spiders made the web and they figured no one's in there because it's a spider web. And if they were, they would have broken the web and they left. And Allah mentioned that that the Prophet ﷺ was in the cave. Wathani, he was talking about Abu Bakr. So Abu Bakr was praising the Quran. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said in the Sahih Bukhari, لو كان ماذا بعدي نبي لقد ما كان أبي بكر كما قال. He said that there was to be a prophet after me. If Allah had decreed that there's going to be a prophet, this shows anybody who claims they're a prophet, kalam batil. It's kalam is falsehood. Anybody say I'm the messenger after the Prophet Muhammad, huwa kadhab. Allah, it proves that. Prophet said, had that been a prophet after me, showing the opposite is to be understood. There's no prophet after him. As he said, wala nabiyyun ba'di, an authentic narration, and there's no prophet after me. Also, ما كان محمد ماذا؟ ما كان محمدا نعم ما كان محمدا أبا أحد من رجالكم ولكن رسول الله وخاتم النبيين. So the Prophet ﷺ is not the father of any one of you. Talking about the story of Zayd. So, but rather he's the messenger, the prophet and the last seal of them. He said, had there been any prophet after me, it would have been Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And everybody agreed. The Sahabas unanimously agreed. Why? Because the Prophet said it. And the Prophet is not a liar. So the fact that Abu Bakr was to be the first successor of the Prophet is not dhulm. It's not oppression. It's not ganking or dissing or disrespecting Ali ibn Abi Talib. And it has nothing to do with demise or something of a misunderstanding as it relates to Ali. Neither is it cheating him out of his rightful place. As Ali, the Prophet ﷺ said, you are to me as Moses to Harun, their blood. But had the Prophet ﷺ meant that he's supposed to be before Abu Bakr, no, for surety, the Ummah would have had Ali before Abu Bakr. It's not supposed to be like that. And, mashallah, tabarakallah, we understand this in its proper context. But unfortunately, the Shia, they say, the Prophet ﷺ khana risala. So the Prophet ﷺ didn't fulfill his trust. This makes the Prophet a kadhab. Or, if the Prophet ﷺ didn't fulfill his trust, meaning he should have made Ali the successor rather than Abu Bakr, this means Allah forgot something. A'udhu billah. Which one is worse? The Prophet is kadhab or Allah forgot something? They're both equal. Sahih. And the point here is to show that if we don't learn anything from this event in Islam, and we don't learn anything from this warped understanding, one thing we understand. Just because a person is Muslim doesn't mean that he narrates or he says was proper about the Prophet. And for this reason, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, لَيْسَ كَذِبِي ليس كذب علي ككذب على أحد فمن كذب علي متعمدا فليتبوأ مقعده من النار. If I make a mistake, the people know the hadith. Don't feel like he's the imam. Correct me. This isn't a manner. And I don't have this. All of this I'm saying is not from the book. I left the book a long time ago. I'm saying what's from my head, so I can make a mistake. Don't feel shy. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said, lying on me is not like lying on anybody else. To lie on somebody is a great sin. And there's a difference between, in the time of fitna, saying something because you're afraid. There's a difference in the time of fitna, covering the truth because you became overtaken. There's a difference between saying something that's not true because you forgot. Those situations, you don't say that a person is kadhab, because everything has a circumstance. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His Prophet ﷺ mentioned the hadith of Abu Hurairah in Sahih Muslim, alaykum bis-sidq, I command you to be truthful. فَإِنَّ الصِّدْقَ يَهْدِي إِلَى الْبِرِّ, because telling the truth links, supports, leads to what's bir. And one of the meanings of bir, which bir has a lot of meanings here, it means good deeds. فَإِنَّ الْبِرِّ يَهْدِي إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ, and that good deeds lead to the Jannah. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's Prophet, he mentioned the opposite about kadhab. وَإِيَّاكُمْ بِالْكَذَبِ, and I warn you against lying. فَإِنَّ الْكَذَبِ يَهْدِي إِلَى الْفُجُورِ, it leads to, and here yahdi doesn't mean a person has irshad. La, don't get that mixed up, because the Prophet said yahdi, because normally huda means something good, direction. Here yahdi means it leads to, it connects to. Lying leads to fujur, and fujur is badness, wickedness. فَإِنَّ فُجُّرَ يَهْدِي إِلَى النَّارِ وَالْعَيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, and wickedness, badness leads to the fire. And at the end of this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned a person not stopping his lying, وَيَتَحَرِّ بِكَذَبٍ, and he does it habitually, meaning all of the time. أَقْلَبْ كَلَامُهُ كَذَبٍ حَتَّى يُكْتَبَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ كَاذِبًا. Naam, until Allah just seals his case, he's a liar, meaning he's going to die like that and he will be punished. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. So here, the point is that lying, which we normally say quickly, hastily, someone not telling the truth, is not always to be looked at as a lie. Circumstances have to be looked at. People forget, people misquote, people become afraid, sometimes people are pressured, forced. But if a person is lying, normally this means he has no pressure, he has nothing to make him do that as a normal circumstance. He just does it because he has something in his heart that leads him to tell that which is other than the truth. And for this reason, the Prophet, knowing that, he said, lying on me is not like lying on anyone else, as it's bad and it's normally habitual. He said, lying on me is not like any lying on anyone else. So whoever lies on me intentionally, whoever purposely lies on me, meaning the Prophet, then let him take his seat that's already waiting for him in the fire. That means a person has an opportunity. Even though Allah has wrote for us our outcome, you still have a chance. Look, Allah wrote for some people Jannah and some people Nar. It could be you just go to the hellfire, you go to Jannah. But even though Allah has wrote where a person is going to end up because He knows, He still gave you an opportunity to strive and to earn something. So here Prophet ﷺ is saying, whoever relies on him, he earns his seat in the fire. And this is one of the reasons why the ulama of hadith made the science called ulum al-hadith, that requires a person to check what they say about the Prophet. Because if you say something about the Prophet that is not proven to be sound, then you may be from amongst those in the fire.
4 more minutes.
Tayyib, barakallahu feek. Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, he mentions the first hadith in the chapter of the obligation of Jumu'ah. قال حدثنا أبو يمان قال أخبرنا شعيب قال حدثنا أبو زناد عن عبد الرحمن عن زرمس الأعراج مولى ربيع ابن حارث قال حدثه أنه سمع أبا هريرة رضي الله تعالى عنه أنه سمع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول نحن الآخرون السابقون يوم القيامة ويبدأ أنهم أوتوا الكتاب من قبلنا ثم هذا يرمونهم الذي فرض عليهم فاختلفوا فيه فهدانا الله سبحانه وتعالى فالناس لنا فيه تبع اليهود غدا والنصارى بعد غد. This hadith Imam Bukhari he brings on the authority of Abu Hurairah from the chain of Haramus, where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam he said, we, meaning the ummah of the Prophet, we are the last ones and the ones to ايش السابقون في انجليزي انا نسيت سابقون before طيب جزاك الله خير نحن آخرون والسابقون يوم القيامة طيب. We are the last of those to come on the day of judgment, and those that will start were from the people that came before us, from the people that were given scriptures. ثم هذا يومهم الذي فرض عليهم, and this they will come in accordance to the days that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made an obligation for them on, meaning their Sabbath, and Allah has guided us, so thus and people will come following the Jews tomorrow, or the day after they will follow the Christians, meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made for each one their Sabbath, the day that they go and they have their gathering. And for the Muslims, we will be from amongst those in Yawm al-Qiyamah, al-Akhirun al-Sabiqun, meaning we will come as in this life we were the last ummah, but on Yawm al-Qiyamah, as it comes in other hadith, we will be the first ones. As you know, the hadith where everybody will go from prophet to prophet and they will send the people to Muhammad. And this was from what the Prophet ﷺ has mentioned here, showing the virtues of Jumu'ah, as Jumu'ah is the best day, and those that have that best day as a Sabbath, they will be as-sabiqun on the day of Yawm al-Qiyamah, meaning the Muslim Ummah. Although we are the last of those in this life, the last Ummah, we will be the first ones to stand Yawm al-Qiyamah, and part of this is based on the virtue of Jumu'ah, the one who has the best day for his Sabbath in this life. And inshallah tabarak wa ta'ala, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us. Ameen.
I think about the hadith said that all of them were recommended for them Jumu'ah. They left their deen, as you read it. They left their deen. So the people after us, before us, they changed it to the Sabbath, and al-Ahd. And we came back behind them and we followed the Jumu'ah. And we took the Jumu'ah. This is our day.
Tayyib, barakallahu feek. We didn't get to read the explanation. This is one of them, one of the meanings though, in another hadith. And perhaps, if we were to read, they would say this here, the Shaykh, in this hadith. What he's mentioning is what he's mentioning here, is the point that all of those people, they were given their day. Some ulama, they say they were given the people before us Jumu'ah, and then they changed it. Here, I didn't mention that because I didn't read the explanation, and I want to jump and add something away from the Sheikh's Kalam about what's here. Wallahu alam, we'll see when we do the next segment if that's part of the meaning. But we know that this is true, that they changed it, and Yani mada, because they changed it, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave it to us as Jumu'ah, and so far, alhamdulillah, we still have that as our day for gathering. We didn't change it. As the Muslims followed the Jews and the Christians, the Prophet mentioned that, and in this way, we didn't follow them, as we kept the day that was appointed, Yawm al-Jumu'ah. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. Any questions before we disperse for the food? طيب جزاكم الله خير. Now في أسئلة.
We'll have a question after our stomach.
الحمد لله تفضل. جزاك الله خير.